Hi everybody, it's Tom from FindTheBestCarPrice.com. Today we're going to talk about the 2022 Honda Ridgeline RTL-E. And here's the price for you. I don't want to hold on to your hats on here. You might want to scour our website to learn everything you can about getting the best price on a Ridgeline if you plan to buy this one. $49,172. That seems like a lot for a Ridgeline, but you do get a lot here as well. So here's what we have. Sonic gray as the exterior color, LED headlights, you're gonna have the daytime running lights, and even fog lights down there on the lower portion of the bumper. As you can see, 245/60 size tires wrapped around 18-inch wheels. And that 60 series sidewall, which is going to be this area right here for those who may not know. Some of you do, some of you don't, just so I might as well share it. That's gonna contribute to better ride quality. That's always a good thing. Now, I don't really think it's necessary, but this one does come with side steps, and it does have the graphite material sprayed on so that it's easier to gain traction in the case that it's wet outside and the people getting in and out, driver and passengers, have wet shoes. The soles on their shoes are wet so they don't slip right there. But this being a truck that's not high off the ground, I just don't think that it's necessary. And a quick look here at the remote. As you can see, lock, unlock, you've got your panic button right here and you hold down that button. You've got remote start, that's a good thing. You have the power adjustable side view mirrors. They're not power folding, they are power adjustable, but just so you can see, turn signal indicator built in, and you can come up and lock or unlock the doors here on the front. Now you only have that on the front. Tell me down in the comments, would you like to see Honda add that to the rear like we see on some of the other models we feature here, such as the Chevrolets and GMCs. Then you also have the roof rails up there that also have the crossbars, so you can put whatever you need to up there, increasing cargo capacity, all that good stuff. But one of the most interesting features of this Ridgeline truck centers around the multi-use bed. Let's talk about that. Okay, let's start by talking about the tailgate here. For those of you who have maybe never seen the Ridgeline before, obviously you're not going to be surprised that it opens as it does right there, conventional way. What about towing and payload? 3,500 up to 5,000 pounds is what this all-wheel drive truck. All-wheel drive is the only option here, so that's standard across all trim levels. No more front-wheel drive. 3,500 to 5,000 pounds. And here within the bed, your payload, 1,509 up to 1,583 pounds. Now, one more thing. There is a release right here. Pull on that, and you swing the tailgate open. And there are a lot of advantages to that, not only in loading or unloading cargo, but also with what you have right here. You're gonna notice the lock, and there's a release right here. This is the bed trunk, and I really like this feature. Something you don't see on other trucks. In fact, the only other one I've seen it on so far is the compact Hyundai Santa Cruz. This one's a lot bigger than what the Santa Cruz has. Obviously, it's a bigger truck, this being the mid-size truck and the Santa Cruz being a compact truck. But you can put these in, these little partitions right here. That's a nice feature. You can take those in and out if you want to. You can use this for icing down drinks and snacks or cleaning off dirty gear at the end of the day on the job site, whatever you're doing. And then you can drain all the water right out here with that built-in drain plug. And obviously gaining access to that spare tire is made so much easier with the tailgate swinging open as it does. You release some wing nuts on each side and you can pull that tray out, and it actually is made to sit on these areas right here. If you ever need to gain access to the spare tire and the tools to change that. But here's one of the biggest advantages of this bed. With nice lighting built in, you're gonna find that on both sides. You don't have those large wheel wells that you normally have on other trucks. That saves some space here and increases the capacity that you have to haul, well, whatever it may be, if it's sheetrock or plywood or whatever the case may be, there is additional space. One thing that I personally noticed that is missing here is there is no door bin on these rear doors, so your rear seat passengers are kind of going to be hurting for a little bit of storage space. Now there is a lot of space underneath the seats, and obviously you can raise both sides up here. Pretty easy to do via this latch right here. So put that back down, try and do that carefully so don't make too much noise. And when there's nobody sitting in the rear middle seat of the rear section here, Passengers can take advantage of the cup holders, a little bit of snack area right there, and that fold-down armrest. There is also going to be plenty of airflow back here with the dual air conditioning vents, and it's a little hard to get down there to show, but there are 2 USB ports. I'm waiting to see car makers and truck makers in this case with Honda put in 3, because there could potentially be 3 passengers back here. And one more thing that I do like here is the fact that you have basically a flat floor back here, so if there is a middle seat passenger, they don't have to deal with that annoying transmission tunnel. Hey, speaking of the transmission, what kind is it? Let's open the hood and talk about the mechanical aspects of this truck. And much like the fact that all-wheel drive is standard and there is no other option, you also have one option for the engine that's under the hood. It's the 3.5-liter V6, naturally aspirated, making 280 horsepower and 262 pounds-feet of torque. It's mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission, and MPGs come in at 18 city, 24 highway, 21 combined, and 4.8 gallons of gas is what you should use, according to Honda, for every 100 miles you drive. What's missing here under the hood? Well, you can tell by seeing this. There is not one single Honda model available right now that has hydraulic struts for raising the hood. Tell Honda down in the comments if you would like to see that change. Okay, we took a look at the rear seat area and we talked about how there's no door bends. Well, you have 2 in the front, so you better call shotgun if you want a door bend, or especially 2 here on the passenger side. Gonna have some contrast stitching right here, power window, all that good stuff. And very comfortable seating within the rear and front of this Ridgeline truck. Quite a nice large glove box there, and power seats for the driver and the passenger. We'll also hop in here real fast and take a quick look at the center console. There is connectivity in there with another USB port and a 12 volt, also an additional 12 volt and USB found right here. You also have something that a lot of people don't like, the push button shifter. Tell me what you think about that. Tell Honda what you think about that. Would you like to see that change to a more conventional style shifter for the center console? Or maybe even see Honda put one up there on the steering column. We don't see those on any Hondas at the moment, but who knows what you might see in the future if you request it. And here on the driver's side door, not much different than what we saw on the passenger side, but you do have your child safety locks. And one thing that's definitely different here is going to be found here. Seat memory, 2 settings. You've got all of your settings there for at least some for your safety features, such as rear cross traffic alert, blind spot monitoring, traction control, all that good stuff. There's snail mode or econ mode. It's really econ mode, but I call it snail mode. And one thing I know I did when I hopped into this truck is I went right here out of habit looking for the controls for those power side view mirrors. On these Hondas, at least some of them are located right here. And of course, traditional as this goes is the fact that you can release that lever right there and adjust the tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel. We'll reach down here and hit our push button ignition. There are no changes for 2022, but still we'll just take a quick look at what all is here with the instrument cluster. You have all of the steering wheel mounted controls here. I probably don't need to say a whole lot about what those are. Also, your paddle shifters here, and so depending on the mode you're driving in, you can use those. And then we'll look up here. Let's go ahead and hit this. We'll go back just to show you what the infotainment screen looks like. A very simple system to use, and if you're wondering, is navigation built in? Well, you can already see this right here. We'll view the map just to show you what's here, because I know if I don't show that, a lot of people ask about it, and rightfully so. Obviously, you can pair your phone, plenty of settings you can go through. You have your dual zone climate control here. You can sync those together, or you can turn that off if you want to. Easy to figure out on that. Now, one thing that's interesting here for those of us who live in the United States, heated seats only. You can get heated and ventilated in Canada from what I understand, but it is what it is. I would love to see heated and ventilated, especially during the summer. We need ventilated here in Northwest Louisiana. So what is it like to drive the Ridgeline? Well, the Ridgeline has always been one of my favorites because it has a comfortable ride quality. Anytime I can drive these down the road, let's make sure we don't get into trouble here with this van pulling out in front of us. Those are things we don't really want in our videos anyway. Before I was distracted by the potential of a bad driver. I guess they weren't because they stopped, right? The Ridgeline has always been one of my favorites because of the ride quality. It's nice and comfortable. The ride quality is smooth. And as far as my experience has been, acceleration is good. 280 horsepower, I realize isn't the most you can get with a mid-sized truck, but it seems to do the Ridgeline well, at least based on my own personal experiences. But this is one of the big advantages of all of you who are Ridgeline owners. Maybe you've done some towing, you've maybe maxed out that 1,583 pounds of payload capability back there in the bed. What is it like to drive your Ridgeline when you have extra weight in the vehicle, whether it's extra passengers, or you're towing, or you're hauling, or maybe all of the above? Share that down in the comments. Unfortunately, that's something I don't have the opportunity to really do in a real world test situation, at least not yet. Maybe we can get our hands on a Ridgeline for long enough to do something like that in the future. But overall, as the driving experience goes with this Ridgeline, I'm pleased with it. It's easy to get around. A lot of people who don't need all of the full-blown capabilities of a full-size truck, whether it's a half-ton or a three-quarter-ton or even a one-ton, well, the Ridgeline does well for you because you can still have that bed back there. You still have a nice, comfortable interior with a reasonable amount of space in the front and rear seating areas, and it's easy to get around. That's one thing that definitely makes a difference here. It's not a full-size truck, so you don't have the length and the width and the height and all the stuff that you have with other larger trucks. And even though in this day and age, I just can't imagine people complaining if they take advantage of the technology that we have in all of these vehicles now, especially when you have an overhead 360-degree view camera and different views such as that. But the one thing I always like to ask about is, as an owner, if you are an owner, tell us about your experience down in the comments with driving your Ridgeline in whatever conditions you have experience with. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier in the video is that there are multiple driving modes. You've got drive, the normal, basically default driving mode. You have snow mode. We did talk about econ mode, or what I kiddingly call snail mode, but you know, right now that might be a good thing with gas being the price that it is. But you also have what is some people call sequential mode. It's essentially sport mode, no matter what people say. But whether you want to call it sport or whether you want to call it sequential, when you go into that S mode, maybe that's a little bit better, you can actually tell a difference in how the engine and transmission are behaving. Engine and transmission, let me get that right. That just didn't sound right when it came out. How the engine and transmission behave when you're driving down the road. It seems to be more free. The RPM comes up higher at a quicker rate. And so there's obviously some kind of a difference there. And it's not that it makes that big of a difference. I know the Ridgeline is by no means meant to be a high performance truck. That's a fact. That would be interesting to see Honda come up with a high performance version of the Ridgeline sometime in the future. There's all kinds of things you could say in the comments about whether you do or don't want to see that. But my ultimate verdict of the Ridgeline is always good for just basic everyday use. It has the functionality of a truck. It has a full interior for 5 people, and it's an enjoyable vehicle to drive. It's going to fit in your garage. It's not like a lot of full-size trucks or even some mid-size trucks that might not fit lengthwise in some people's garages, depending on how new your house is, or if you had a larger garage put in. That's always a good idea, at least for a car guy like me. A little bit bigger garage is always useful. But overall, the Ridgeline is a great choice for the right people. That's again why I like for you owners to always leave your feedback down in the comments. Thank you so much for always doing that, because it helps, you know, people to see and say, okay, you've got the naysayers over here who say it's not really a truck, and then you've got owners over here who talk about how much they love it. So tell us, what are your pros and cons as an owner down in the comments? I'm always interested to hear. But overall, a good experience. The gas pedal is easy to manage. The brake pedal, while it feels a little bit soft, when you need to apply brake, the pedal itself may feel soft, but you realize that that the Ridgeline is stopping as quickly as you need it to. So you can't always go by that, but then again, you can't always go by what those of us who are reviewing these vehicles are saying, because somebody else might hop in here who's used to a different vehicle as their daily driver, as opposed to what I am, and they might say, well, that actually feels like a very well-balanced brake pedal. Kind of an interesting thing to consider when it comes to watching the test drives on these videos. It's always best to really just get out there and drive it for yourself.
To learn more about the model in today's video, visit the link in the description for a detailed comparison between trims and pricing for the vehicle we featured or any vehicle you may be interested in. These pages feature information such as our recommended trim level based on price, value, and features. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. We look forward to seeing you next time.